So your company's got a killer global employer brand, right? You've got a serious budget behind it, a slick message. So why isn't it working? Why is it falling completely flat in the exact local markets you need to win over? Well, let's get into it and break down why that big global message might be getting totally lost when it matters most. I mean, really think about it for a second. You've poured all this effort into a powerful, universal message about your company's amazing values. But then, when it actually hits the ground in a super competitive, very specific market, say the tech scene in Poland, does it really connect with anyone? Or does it just become, more background noise?
It turns out this isn't just bad luck. The whole problem really boils down to three huge fundamental disconnects between that shiny global vision and the gritty local reality. So let's dive in and pull back the curtain on each one. Okay, first up, we've got something called cultural dissonance. This is all about the massive clash between what a big corporation wants to say about itself and what a highly skilled and, let's be honest, cynical local audience is actually willing to believe. And this right here, this is a perfect snapshot of the problem. On one side, you have the global branding team pushing these broad, feel-good corporate values. But on the other side, you've got the very specific reality of the Polish IT market. And senior engineers there, they are famously skeptical. They have this built-in radar for anything that feels inauthentic. And that's the heart of it. To the very people you're desperately trying to hire, your carefully crafted global message just sounds like meaningless corporate fluff. It doesn't answer the questions they really care about, so it gets ignored. Or even worse, it makes them roll their eyes. All right, let's move on to our second disconnect, because this is where the problem really starts to compound. It's what we call the competency gap. And this one isn't about the message itself, but about the total breakdown in execution between the headquarters that dreams up the strategy and the local team that's supposed to actually make it happen. Now, what's fascinating here is something the source material calls the dead end phenomenon. And it's such a perfect term for this really common problem, right? A brilliant global strategy gets handed down from on high, but then it just stops. It hits a brick wall at the local level because the people on the ground don't have the senior resources or, crucially, the specific market knowledge to make it work. And here's exactly how it plays out, step by step. HQ creates the grand plan, but the local team, they probably don't even have a dedicated senior person for employer branding. On top of that, the global team has absolutely no clue about the platforms that actually matter locally, like the job board Just Join IT in Poland, or which industry events are a must-attend. And the result? The strategy goes absolutely nowhere. It's dead on arrival. So your message is off, and your team can't execute it. What happens next? Well, that leads us right into our third and final disconnect, a lack of real effectiveness. This is the point where your branding efforts don't just fail to help, they actually start to hurt your recruitment. And you can see the painful outcome right here. In a totally saturated market, you're just blasting out messages, creating a ton of noise. You get a flood of applications, sure, but the number of people who are actually qualified is tiny. And all this does is completely burn out your recruitment team, forcing them to waste their days sifting through hundreds and hundreds of irrelevant profiles. Okay, so we've laid out all the problems. It's a bit grim, I know. But how do you actually fix this? Well, the key is to stop thinking about a top-down command and start thinking about building a bridge, one that truly connects that big global vision to a real, tangible local victory. And the good news is, the solutions map directly to the problems. To fight that cultural dissonance, you don't just translate words, you transcreate the message. You turn it into something local talent actually cares about, like deep tech specifics. To close that competency gap, you embed a dedicated branding partner on the ground who knows the scene. And to fix the ineffectiveness, you make sure every single communication is laser-focused on one thing, finding qualified hires. So, what does this actually look like day to day? What are the moves? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual operational playbook for building that authentic connection in a market that doesn't trust you yet. It really all boils down to two core tactics. First, your entire focus needs to be on building what's called informed interest. And second, you have to create a real system for supporting passive candidates, that top-tier talent that isn't even looking for a job. So what is informed interest? It's all about being radically transparent right from the start. Instead of vague promises about making an impact, you give candidates the real details they're craving, the tech stack you use, the specific challenges of the project, genuine insights into your engineering culture. And the payoff is huge. You get applicants who are already bought in, which leads to way deeper, more meaningful technical interviews. And for that super senior talent, We're talking about the directors of engineering who would literally never click an apply button. You have to play the long game. This means building a whole ecosystem of content and touchpoints across different channels. The entire goal is to build familiarity and, most importantly, trust with your brand before a recruiter even thinks about sending that first LinkedIn message.
So after going through all of that, what's the one thing you should walk away with? How do we need to fundamentally rethink our entire approach to global branding? Here it is, the most important point of all. We have to completely flip our thinking. Authentic, deeply informed local execution isn't some nice little add-on to a global plan. In the markets that truly matter, that local execution is the strategy. Everything else is just corporate fluff.
And that really just leaves us with one final question for you to take back to your own organization. Is your employer brand just a global echo bouncing around in an empty room? Or are you ready to actually start a real, meaningful local conversation?